Welcome to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you are ready to find your inner magic, develop great habits, and a rock steady mindset to feel confident, comfortable, and fit in your body, you are in the right place. I am Kim Barnes Jefferson, and I'll be giving you weekly doses of health, fitness, and life tips sprinkled with humor and real talk. If you're ready to be consistent without the stress of perfection, magic makers, it's time to slip into your favorite pair of PJs, grab some coffee, kick back, and listen to today's show. This week's iTunes review is brought to you by M.L. Martel. She writes, 5 stars. Kim is more than just knowledgeable in just health and fitness. She is supportive, reassuring, and on the level. She gives it to you straight, just the way most people need it. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate that review. And you too can review Fit Girl Magic Podcast. Just go to iTunes or wherever you subscribe to this show and just leave me a 5-star review. I love them. I take them to heart. I just want to make sure that I'm bringing you the best stuff. So thank you so much for all of you who have left me a review so far. I can't wait to highlight you. Magic makers, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. I reconnected with a fabulous woman, Kelley Tyan. And let me just tell you about her. She's just a rock star. I met her competing and we just stayed friends. And over the last, I'd say several years, she has faced, let's just call it what it is, a shitstorm of life. And she just stood up to it like a superhero. And I know many of you have faced adversity, right? You know, we're over 40. We've got aging parents. We've got kids. We've got friends. We've got jobs. We've got spouses. And life can come at us pretty fast. And what I admire the most about Kelley is that, one, she's an amazing smile. But two, she was able to take this adversity and just be like, all right, this is a test. Life is testing me and I need to step up and show that I got this. So welcome, Kelley, to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. And you're making me cry. I mean, really, it's unbelievable. And when adversity strikes, I think that's all we can do is just show up. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that introduction. Truly, I think.
Well, it's funny. So you said that like all you can do is show up. And I remember the first time when I kind of started to show up in my life. Do you know who Gabby Bernstein is?
Of course.
So I remember the first thing she said that really made me be like, all right, this chick's got something to say, was she goes, you have to show up for what's up.
100%. 100%. We just teach ourselves things, and showing up was one of those things I had to actually really dive into.
Yeah, and showing up is hard because it's sometimes you have to put on a mask. Even before Corona, you have to put on a mask because maybe you're just having a really shitty day and you can't show that. Like Kelley owns a business. And so, when you show up to a business, you can't be like, I'm having a bad day, people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And when you have a lot of women's eyes on you, yes, you have to show up and lead by example. And that's really, Kim, what my story is about. I have been through a lot. And I don't know where you want to start, how far back, because I have a few different things I could get into.
I want to hit on these all because right now it's October and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, I first met Kelley. She was, a recent breast cancer survivor. So let's go back to that moment where, I don't know if you found the lump first or someone found it and, you have that, oh, snap.
Oh, snap. Yes. So I was in the process of starting a boot camp in my area. I talked to these guys and I said, hey guys, I'd love to get certified. I actually got CrossFit certified at that time, which was over 12 years ago. And they were opening a CrossFit gym. I said, can I run a boot camp instead, not really CrossFit, but really just for women. They said, absolutely. So I rented the space, and right at that time when I was planning and prepping and how am I going to launch this, I got that call because I was watching TV one night, and I scratched my chest, and I found it felt like a frozen pea. And I really didn't think anything of it. I just, scratched and called one of my girlfriends the next day and said, this is so strange. I found like a little tiny bump on the top of my breast. And she said, you better go get that checked. Between us and everyone listening, I put it off for 3 months. I really did. I wasn't really, it was almost 3 months because I was so focused on what I was going to do for the women in my community in this boot camp that I wasn't worried. Honestly, I wasn't worried. I am very prayerful, so I didn't even think about it. My friend reminded me again, did you get that checked? I said, you know what? I'm going to call. So I made the call. Fast forward, I got the phone call from my doctor. You have cancer. Those words, I mean, I have chills right now. Again,
Right.
it was unbelievable. Here I was really getting into my fitness, being healthy. So I thought, and I thought I was healthy. I had to reevaluate all that I was eating and my nutrition at that point, but that's another topic we can get into if you want. And I just had to take a step back for a minute. It stopped me in my tracks. I did have my cry, but in the end, I did choose to be strong. I wanted to be going to lead in a fitness program, a boot camp, that I'm going to show up for you. Going through this or not going through this, I want to be here and let you guys know that if I can do it, you can do it. And I just kind of took that approach. I started radiation treatments and woke up at 4:30, went to my class day after day and showed up for those women. And they watched me through it all. I was tired. I'm not going to lie, of course. I didn't have to have chemo, but I did weeks and weeks of radiation, which, a side effect is tiredness and whatever else. And then I had to go on medication and things like that. But I really, really did show up, and I just kept moving forward. And my women to this day just appreciated that. I wanted them to know again that if I can do it, they can do it. That was really the bottom line because we have diagnosis happen to us every day. And I did have my cry, and we can stay in bed all day and have that pity party, but where is that really going to get us? I had 2 children, a husband, my parents. I wanted to be strong for them and myself and just prove that I can get through this and God will take care of me. So that's what I did.
I love that mindset because I think, actually, I don't think, I know everything comes down to choose. You made the choice that you're like, okay, I have this business and it's all about empowering women. And how could I just lay in bed? Like, I need to show women that, like, yeah, I might be tired, but you might be tired too, just from life, but you have to show up.
Exactly. I mean, I took that very seriously because I didn't want to quit. I could have gave up and said, guys, I'm going to take some time off, but where would that get me? And what good would have came out of that if I stopped the business? I mean, where would I be now? Who knows if my mindset stayed in bed and I never ended up going back to that boot camp. So I didn't want to do that because it was a passion of mine, like you said, to empower women in any way I could. So yes, showing up is the key. It is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love that and admire that because I also, I think when you get those types of diagnoses, it makes you reevaluate like everything in your life.
Exactly. I thought I was pretty good eater, but I really thought low fat, no fat, over the place. I really had to dive into the nutrition part, which I learned so much about. I ended up becoming a health coach from IIN, which is integrative nutrition. I did a whole year of studying nutrition and mindset in the body and the whole 9 yards because I really wanted to learn how to feed my body properly and I could teach my clients to do the same. So I did. I took that approach. And again, you know, if I just kept challenging myself. And at that point, Kim, is when I think when I met you, I
Yeah.
needed a new challenge at that point and something to just get me to a new level. Because going through the breast cancer, continuing my boot camp, then I was done. And at that point, I said, what can I do next?
Right.
That's where we met. And I jumped into the competition scene with you, which thank God, here we are today.
Yeah, it's funny. People always say, oh, do you regret competing? Or, I was like, you know what? I do not. I can't think of how many amazing women I've met through competing. And it also forced me to like bust out of my little like bubble to meet people.
I am the same way. I busted out of my bubble because I did it alone. I didn't even tell anybody I was jumping into this until, maybe a month and a half in. And that's exactly what I did. I had to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and meet new women in the competition, in the fitness industry. And it was amazing. I mean, it was a grind. Let's be real.
Mm,
It's hard work, dedication, consistency, crying on some days,
yep.
feeling deprived on some days. But in the end game, if anybody's listening that is interested in competing, it's an amazing experience because it really taught me how to show up even more for myself because nobody was getting on stage in that bikini except for me. So if I didn't show up in my workouts, eat my food plan that my coach gave me and follow the nutrition guidelines, then, it was over. So that I learned so much about myself and just a great experience meeting everybody I did and the friendships that we still have. So it's fun to do once. I did it 4 times. So I think
Yeah.
I'm done with competition, but it was an experience I'll never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people like, it's for a lot of people, it's at their bucket list, right? It's something that they have, either seen or they've had a friend do it. And it's definitely something I always say to people like, you know what, do it once. It's not about the trophy. It's just about can you set a goal and see yourself through that goal?
Right. Exactly. And that's it. It was a journey you take for 12 weeks or 16 weeks. And that's exactly it. You commit to yourself, set the goal, and you finish off what you started. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, huge believer on that. And that's one of the kind of like the forefronts of Kelley also has an amazing podcast. It's called Addicted to the Climb. And that's, kind of the message of it is that, we all have something bigger than us pulling us towards something, so that something can be anything, right? It could be a spiritual thing, it could be, an empowerment thing, it could be anything that's pulling you that you're like, I don't even know how to stop. Like there's just something that is just like has a gravitational pull to make me do this.
I agree. And, it teaches you discipline. I think discipline is another key word that I use all the time. You have to be disciplined enough with yourself and what you do daily that, you know, at the end of the day, you have to go to bed knowing, did I accomplish what I set out to do or did I give up? Where can I be better? Because I believe in being 1% better than you were each day.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think that's one of the things I feel that why people showed up at your boot camps because, we've all been to those classes where, they just want to beat the crap out of you. Like if you can't like lift your hands to wash your hair, then that wasn't a good boot camp. But you were all about the empowerment that, what, maybe today you're not lifting a certain weight. Maybe today your squat isn't as deep, but it's going to get there.
And I really truly I believed in women and I always wanted them just to feel at home with me and comfortable. They're intimidated. A lot of my clients tell me,
Mm,
and they are, and they're intimidated to show up to a class that they've never been to. So for me as a coach, I really wanted to know my client and I had passion and compassion for her and just start where she's at. I believe
yes.
that we all just have to start our fitness journey where we're at right now in the present moment. We can't look at the girl next to us that's lifting a barbell and 2 plates on it and say, wow, I want to, do that tomorrow. Well, guess what? You have to start with the 5 pound dumbbells, start where you're at. So I really brought myself, to each woman's level that they're on in that moment and made them feel comfortable and, starting out with push-ups on the knees or whatever they could do to have them want to come back, because it's all about building up their self-esteem, getting them
Right.
happy from the inside out, helping them change their mindset around fitness.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I 110% agree. I think that once you kind of say like you conquer that push-ups on your knees to push-ups on your toes, I think that like the shift that you see in that woman who's like, holy crap, if I could go from knees to toes, what else can I do?
Exactly. And I would see oh my gosh, their faces and the excitement, and then they would be motivated to want to come back.
Mm,
I teach when I coach my women and I coach my clients, they say, Kelley, their question is always, well, I'm not motivated. How do I get motivated? You get motivated by building momentum and doing
yes.
things every single day. When you start to see those results, you build momentum, you want to go back. That's going to motivate you. Hitting that first little milestone, whether it is getting off the knees for one push up, that's going to motivate you to want to do it again. I see it in my child. I have a 14-year-old boy that, he's starting to work out and he gets frustrated and he doesn't feel motivated. But when I see him conquer a few push-ups, he's like, Mom, I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And he gets excited about it. And I think that's where the motivation comes in. And that's what keeps them coming back.
Yeah, and that's what you hit the nail on the head about the 1%. And I think where people want this, like, think that motivation is this thing that just like knocks on your door and drags you out of bed. Sorry, it doesn't. Because if it did, I would own stock in it. But I feel like what you just said is that motivation of saying, you know what, today I'm going to try to lift 2 pounds heavier. Or today I'm going to go 5 more minutes on the treadmill. Or, maybe you're going to increase the incline, or you're going to increase the speed, or, one little thing just to show you I can do it.
Mm.
Versus, showing up and being like, today's the day I'm going to run a marathon, and you just got off the couch.
I think you just said something, is those words, I can do it. Listen, if somebody went ahead and completed something or accomplished something or achieved something that you're looking to do, it's already been done.
Mm,
That's what you have to say to yourself. If they can do it, I certainly can, unless you have, some kind of limitation. But if you're healthy enough, that belief in yourself, and get up and say, I can do this. I'm going to show myself. I'm going to prove it to myself. Because listen, it's all about ourselves. Nobody else cares, really. We
yeah.
care more about ourselves and our
Mm.
and no one's looking at us.
Oh,
So
oh my God. You nailed it on the head. Back in the day when you could teach classes in person, I remember there would always be, those people who are always like looking around the room and, is anyone looking at me doing something like wrong? And I would always say on the microphone, I'm like, hey, for my new folks, no one's looking at you. We only care if you have a heart attack. Then the whole class stops.
right, exactly. I mean, hey, this is where we're at today. That's why we're all home working out from our, bedrooms to our family rooms. And it's all about the belief in yourself that you can get to the next level if you put the work in and you trust that you will do this. I mean, it's all about self belief, especially
Oh,
in fitness. You have to believe in yourself that you can get to where you want to go. You have to put the work in. There's nowhere else, there's no way else to accomplish anything without you showing up, being disciplined enough, and putting the work in.
125%. And so, so here you are, you've had your own battle with cancer. Your parents have, or your biggest cheerleaders, like your biggest supporter. I remember seeing them at shows and they were so cute.
Amazing.
They're just so cute. And so now your dad gets the call
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and you're
gosh.
like, crap. And then your mom.
So my dad was in my eyes, in most people that know my dad, one of the healthiest men I've ever met. I mean, he started running and running marathons when he was 17 years old, and he's still running today. He's 71, almost 71. He runs every single day. He just was a very disciplined person. He took care of himself. He never was sick, never took an aspirin in my whole life. And then and then we got the call that my dad had a rare blood cancer. I mean, again, life stopped. It was so traumatic because the diagnosis was with this cancer, they had to wipe his whole immune system out, give him a stem cell transplant, and be in isolation for a year. So I'm an only child, having, being extremely close to my parents. Of course, I put things aside to care and help them because in the meantime, my mom had rheumatoid arthritis. She really wasn't any help. She did her best, but I knew I had to step in and really take care of my dad. So we started the process. We were at Dana Farber in Boston and in great hands. My dad went in and he was going to be in the hospital a month. He ended up getting out in 3 weeks because he was doing so unbelievable. We got him home, started the isolation. 3 weeks into his recovery, my mom instantly passed, my very best friend in the world. I mean, talk about a life changing experience. My cancer didn't even compare to losing my mom. Life actually stopped for me. And we talked before this interview, before we went live, that I was under a blanket. I stayed under a blanket because I really didn't know how to deal with it. This was so unexpected. I mean, yes, she had rheumatoid, but death was just not in the cards. And if anybody was supposed to die, we were nervous of my dad because
Right.
had this cancer, and we didn't know how his body would adapt to the cells from another human being in Germany. So, having gone through all that, I mean, that was a rock bottom for me. And again, Kim, at that point, I was in bed maybe 2 months. I still showed up for my boot camp because I had to, but I'd go in the bathroom and take 5-minute cry breaks. I cried the whole way to the class. The minute the class ended, I cried walking out. It was just horrific to think back. My mom's been gone 3 years now, which is crazy. And my dad is thriving in his health life, which is a miracle of God. But what got me out again of that place was, what am I doing? I had to really stop, and I had to, the change came when I said, what am I doing? How do I want to live my life without my mom? I had to adapt to this new normal of living, but I knew there was more for me. And I really just got up each day, put my clothes on, washed my face, and really just started praying more, journaling. And that was the beginning for me to, again, be an example to women that when we go through tragic things, we have to always just get back up on our feet. We can't stay there because, again, where would that get me? I had too many women that I wanted to help in life and coach them, and I wanted to be that example. I guess that's the bottom line. I really did. I wanted to show them again that I'm a breast cancer survivor. I just went through this. We all go through death, but life is going to keep going, whether we keep going with it or we stay under those sheets. And I didn't want to do that. So I dove into my fitness again. And I think for me, fitness and health it's cleansing for me. Taking that 30 minutes to myself a day and doing my workouts, it made me stronger in my mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
So,
You said a lot of really amazing things, because I think many of us, we think our parents are indestructible, right? We know that they're going to, die eventually, but like in your mind, you're like, years and years down the line.
mhm.
And
Ex- because my dad was so sick.
right. And so you were so prepped for your dad. You're like, hey, you know, it's blood cancer. Like it's through his whole body. Like it's not like an organ.
Exactly.
Um, and so and so you're just kind of like, as they say, life threw you a plot twist. You're like, my mom just had arthritis. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Arthritis is a survivable thing.
Exactly. And that's honestly where that was the beginning of my addicted to the climb theme in my life. I Because there were a few other things I went through. When my second child was born, he has what's called hydrocephalus, and he's blind in one eye to this day. I was living in children's hospital for a month.
Mm,
So all these things have made me stronger. And I'm not telling you that because I don't want anyone having a pity party, being sad for me, but they have made me stronger. And I've realized over time that I'm really addicted to the climb in life. I'm not going down without a fight. And I want to prove that other women can do this, other men can do this. I mean, I'm not the only one that has been through these things, and I'm not the last to go through it. And people have gone through worse. But I, I, I really just challenge people to just stay on that climb. Don't give up on yourself. Do something different. Challenge yourself to get out of, that space you're in. If it's a negative space you're in and you're feeling dragged down, jump into fitness. Listen, health and fitness is the key to life. Without our health, we have nothing. So why are you choosing the junk to put in your body?
mm,
You're here for one little piece of time, and take advantage. If you're healthy enough to go to the market and buy good groceries, fuel your body in the right way. I'm telling you, you'll be in a better headspace. Your physical body will be in a better place. And what more do we need, right, Kim?
yeah, as you were saying that, I think the two things that people always underrate is that taking care of your health is pretty free, right? I'm not saying you got to go join a gym. We're saying it's something as simple as a walk, right? All it takes is a pair of shoes. You don't even need to have special sneakers. You don't even have the special clothes. Just go out and get a walk. Because I know that, for me, whenever I have a lot of stuff on my brain, something about being out and moving my body and walking, it just helps shift my perspective.
Oh, I can't agree with you more. I mean, even like you said, all you need is a pair of sneakers. Go outside, take a walk. You don't have to be overwhelmed that you have to grab some weights. You don't need that. And I think that's what most people, that's why they avoid the whole exercise and workout thing because, oh, I don't have time. It's a big hassle. I don't have weights. Go outside and take a walk. Turn that walk in a month into a 30-second jog, then a walk. You can add to that.
Right. Yeah. Or you can continue to walk. Like, I always, one of my clients, she drinks a lot of wine and that's her way to unwind after work. And I said, this is what I want you to try. I said, before you even get that glass of wine, go in, put on a pair of sneakers and just walk around the block. Right. Just find a way to shift your thinking and just kind of like decompress from the day. Cause it's really easy. I know what it's like. If you had like a real shit day and you're driving home and all you're thinking about, you're ruminating the things you coulda, woulda, shoulda. And you get home and that glass of wine is just like, oh, but instead of that wine, the walk, right? You can still like just decompress, but instead of using alcohol or food, you're using exercise as a way to help you just kind of get back into your body and out of your head.
Exactly. And I love that you said that because I do a lot of accountability coaching, and my clients also love to drink wine, and the whole COVID and the isolation that we were in, for those really, the 12 weeks was really tight. And we
Mm,
were drinking a lot of wine. And we tried to work on that as well and shift it. Like you said, that word shift. You don't have to grab the glass of wine. Instead, hold a plank, do something different because it's all about the daily patterns that you are creating that lead to these habits. I bet those women that are drinking the wine, their brain doesn't even think about it anymore.
no.
It's a habit they've created, they automatically have to work, reach for the glass. It takes a big mind shift in real thoughts that you have to have that I'm not going to reach for it today. I'm going to do it different this time. I'm going to see how
Mm-hmm.
for 2 days. Let's not go for the wine. Let's hold a plank, in front of my TV and distract myself. So it does. It takes a mindset shift to break these patterns, but it can be done.
And if we kind of loop it back to you, it's that all of these things have happened, and you're instead of saying, "Okay, I'm gonna let this take me out," you are like, "Okay, if I let this take me out, how am I showing up to my clients? How am I showing up to my kids, to my husband?" You know, you like, you weren't saying, you weren't choosing to be the victim. You were choosing, like, okay, this is happening. And so I need to step up and figure out, how do I work this into my life versus, I'm a speed bump now. And that's just how it is. That's life. Poor me.
You know what? I have an amazing quote I want to share. It's
Ooh, I
all
love quotes.
about it's oh my gosh, it's life changing. Ready? It was from a pastor, and she said, "Don't allow a season to become a life sentence."
Ooh,
I have chills even saying it out loud because that's what it was for me. All these things are a season in your life. They're not going to last forever. The pain does go away with time, no matter what. It's just life, it's the cycle of life. But if you allow that season to trickle into a lifetime, which I have seen with
yeah.
my eyes, numerous people still carrying the burdens, still complaining, you cannot allow that. You cannot allow that season to become a life sentence. And I say, write it down because when things are going to happen to people. We know that we're not exempt from, rough adversity striking. So if you have that quote and you put it somewhere, you can't allow it to just take over for the rest of your life. You're an overcomer. We all are overcomers. We have to just take that first step, even if it's that little tiny baby step, then it leads into the next step. And then, you break out of that cycle. So I love that quote. I mean, it really resonated with me in so many ways.
I love that quote too, because it's, I always talk to people about, what season of life are you in? And we all have, right now you're a mom, you got kids, so right now you're in that season of trying to, like, get everyone's schedules organized and make sure they're all in the right place, and that's disruptive for a few weeks until you figure out, okay, what everyone gets into the calmness of, this is what school season is like. And then, we get another disruption in summertime, but it's like, you don't let that spill over to, like, years and years and years. It's like, it's a bump in the road.
Exactly. And I'm so excited because this is a new season for us being in New England. I love the changing of the seasons. So, fall is the new season. And it's just, for me, it's what am I going to do this season? I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do through the winter. What am I going to do right now over the next couple of months? Because I believe if we don't challenge ourselves, it's another quote, but if we don't challenge ourselves, then we don't see change. So,
No.
right now, everyone listening, you need to think about what can you do different? What's something that you can add into your routine? Something that's going to challenge you. So I love the changing of the seasons and just setting a new goal. It's so exciting to me.
It's funny that you said that. I kind of like that thought process of, every season is, you kind of take a little inventory of, like, all right, where am I? And what could be possible for me in the next 90 days?
Can I present for myself? That's how I look at it. And
Yeah.
we have to create that. We have to create that opportunity for ourselves.
And it goes back to what you said at the very beginning, or maybe halfway through, about momentum, right? It's like, that's how I continue the momentum. Because if I say to myself, I'm going to run a marathon by the end of the month, and I haven't run, I'm really frustrated, because I was like, I haven't hit 26 miles, but if I told myself maybe in 90 days I could run a marathon, I would feel, and I was, taking the steps towards it, I would feel a little bit more motivated than if I told myself, I bit off more than I could chew and, told myself, in the next 30 days, I'm going to run a marathon.
Well, that's the thing. You can't set yourself up to fail. You have to set a realistic goal, something, that goes back to set up some kind of challenge for yourself that in the back of your head, you 90% can achieve this. Because I think if you set your standards too high, like you said, if I'm going to say I'm going to run a marathon and you're not a runner, well, you're setting yourself up to fail. So, and then you're not going to go back to it. It's over. So I think just setting a realistic something that you can accomplish. Maybe you have to break it down into each week. I'm a weekly person.
Yeah.
I don't know how you are, Kim, with your goals, but I need to say, what am I going to do this week? And, whether it's setting, I'm going to work out 4 times, it can be basic. It can be, I'm going to drink this amount of water in a day. I'm going to eat, my greens. So I try to do that weekly. And then when that week's over, I do it again, something different for the next week. And that's how it works great.
Yeah, I'm 100% a weekly. It's what you said. When I used to like set 90-day goals and I said, "Oh, I'm going to run a marathon in 90 days." And 26 miles at the beginning of 90 days seems so far. But if I said to myself, "Okay, by the end of this week, I'm going to run this amount of miles," it made me feel like, "Okay, I am taking the steps that I need to get towards there." And it gave me the motivation to keep going, going, and going, and going.
I love it. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. And so, for you, the thing I love this conversation so much is that, shit happened to you and you're like, okay, some of it knocked you out for a little bit, but at some point you're like, you know what? As you said, your quote, like, I can't let this season be my life. And so you just were like, okay, what is that small thing I can do? And for you, that small thing was, well, I got to show up for my ladies. Right. So it's like, anyone listening, ask yourself the question, what's one thing you can show up for? And it might be something really small. Maybe you go to church every Sunday. Maybe that's the one thing you're like, I'm showing up for church. Or maybe it's your kids play a sport and you're like, I'm just going to show up for their games, and pick something that's easy for you to show up to. And, let's see how it builds from there.
Exactly. And another thing I always say is, for me, I had to stop blaming and stop complaining because I was blaming, other people and complaining all the time. And I found myself, this is after my mom passed. I really I was blaming everything and anything and not looking at myself and saying, okay, well, I need to take charge of myself and what I can do to get myself out of this. So I think even in your health and fitness life or, a relationship, like you said, it can be in any area. There comes a time when you have to stop blaming others around you. Stop blaming you have to do the laundry. Stop blaming the dishes aren't done. What do you really want? What are you looking
Mm.
for? And stop complaining about it that you don't have time or you're too busy. And I hear them, oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Well, you have time to work out. Guess what? I make time to work out. We're all busy. We all have the same 24 hours. We have to stop blaming other things, other people. And again, just taking charge of what we really want. Because I see so many people that, you know, they're in the same place they are today than they were 1 year ago today. And they say the same things over and over. I really want to get healthy. I have this weight to lose. And, at what point are you going to take the action steps that I've taken personally? I mean,
Mm.
I've been there. I know what it's like to be at rock bottom. I know what it's like. I might not know what it's like to have 100 extra pounds on me, but I know what it's like to have an extra 15 pounds on me and feeling miserable and having to feel like I'm at the bottom of that mountain and I got to start climbing. So I'm a little hardcore when it comes to that because I am about it's all about the excuses. You're either an
Yes.
excuse maker or you're going to put the work in to get where you really want to be. Or else stop talking about it. right?
Oh my God. That is exactly what I tell people. Like, there's, you get the same messages that I get on Facebook or Instagram, and someone's like, oh my gosh, Kim, everything you say is just totally me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, great. I'm like, let's have a conversation. Let's take it to the next step so you get out of this place. Crickets. And you're like, and then, a few months later, oh my God, Kim, you are so right. Great. Let's move forward. And you're just like, you know what? You chose that you're going to be stuck in this hole.
And even when they are stuck, I say, I don't get really excited about having a green smoothie every day. Not necessarily.
Right.
Days I do, but other days I just make it because it's going to get me where I want to be in my physical body. So these are the things you have to start telling yourself. You might not love, grilling chicken or having a nice piece of white fish, but guess what? It's going to get you where you need to be. So sometimes you just have to do the thing that's hard. So you can, and it's showing yourself and proving to yourself that you can do it. So if you want to stay stuck, or take the action steps that Kim gives you, that I give you as coaches, because we know the process. We know what it takes to feel better. And if you don't take that action, no one takes it for you. Again,
125%. And, we're not saying this to complain. We're saying this because both Kelley and I are both very passionate about what we do. And for both of us, we're like, you know what? Like, we see the greatness in our clients. Like, I know what it's like to see people struggle. And I know what it's like for me to struggle. And all it took is just for me to find like one person who just got me and said, I can help you. That I was like, thank you. I'm not like, swimming upstream by myself anymore.
exactly. I think it's super important to have, someone to hold your hand in the beginning. Listen, we know we're not being so harsh, but we have to speak the truth or else we wouldn't be good coaches, right? And
Right.
I really need people to know that it's not that we're being harsh, but we've been in your shoes. Just like I said, I know what it's like to have to lose weight when my jeans don't fit and I'm upset. And, I was a yo yo dieter for years. I mean, I gained the same amount of weight, lost the same amount of weight, back and forth. I mean, it was a struggle. I remember mentally, so I know what it's like to be completely exhausted with myself and my weight and my body and how I felt. But until you get a grip and be real with yourself, I tell people a lot to just sit quietly. And sometimes we're so busy that we don't
Mm.
have the time to be alone with ourselves to say, what do I really want? And I think you and I have had this conversation, maybe even when you were on my podcast, that we have to sit quietly and ask ourselves, is it really skinny that we want to be? Or is it really just to feel better? Do we want to walk up a flight of stairs and not feel out of breath? I mean, what is it that you truly want? And start with that.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's all about clarity, and, when life came at Kelley fast, she was clear that she's like, I want to show up the best I can to be an example. And if you don't have that, you could be an example to anyone. You could be an example to your spouse, your kids, your dog, people that you work with. Anyone could be an example because we never know who's watching.
I know. And that's the thing. And I think when it comes to being an example is at the end of the day, it's you and you. It really is. It's you and you alone, laying your head down at night and, celebrating your wins, your losses, what you can do better. And that's all it comes down to. So, be an example to yourself, if not your family. I highly agree with that.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kelley, for being on. I just, it's a conversation I wanted to have with you for a long time. And now I'm sharing this with the world. And I have one question that I ask all of my guests. What makes you feel magical?
What makes me feel, well, first of all, thank you for having me. Well, I, you know, what makes me feel magical is really trying to let women see themselves as God sees them. I
Mm.
I had anything I could do in this life, my passion is to really, my magic potion would be to just really, when they look at themselves in the mirror, let them see themselves as beautiful and wonderful and capable of all things.
I love it. I absolutely love. I love the capable. That's just it's powerful. Oh, thank you so much for this conversation, Kelley. I'm so excited. I can't wait for others to listen to this and just take away some of there's just every time I'm on a podcast, I take notes, and I've just got so many pieces of wisdom here that I hope others have taken as much notes as I have.
I'm so happy that we did this, and I hope, your listeners loved it. So thank you so much for inviting me.
And where can people find you on the socials?
You can find me I'm on Facebook a lot. I do a lot of Facebook Lives. So it's just Kelley Tyan. My Instagram, I'm on Instagram a lot as well. And it's, again, Kelley Tyan. My name is KelleyTyan. And my website is just kelleytyan.com. And of course, Addicted to the Climb. My podcast is on Spotify and iTunes and Google Play.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you guys make sure you're listening to it because I binged her podcast. So make sure you listen to her podcast. It is absolutely amazing. Thank you again, Kelley.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Girl Magic podcast. If you've made it this far, yay. I'm thinking you enjoyed the show. Let's continue the conversation on Instagram. You can find me at Kim Jefferson Coach. In order for me to keep sharing this message, do me a favor and leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss an episode. New episodes are available every Wednesday. The Fit Girl Magic podcast is intended to provide you with tips, tools, and strategies that will help you make better decisions about your health. I really appreciate your feedback and your support. Thank you so much.